and personal growth and psychology. As I was studying, looking at my mom and what helped her heal, it wasn't food alone. It was the spiritual component, that mindset component. My mom had a lot of fear in her life, a lot of anxiety, and that was causing major health issues. So we had to help her break free of that. A lot of people, and Brett, you've probably seen this. Like when I took care of patients in my functional medicine clinic, if some of them, let's say inflammatory bowel disease, would go and eat gluten, boom. I mean, it was terrible. But what's was crazy to me the first few times it happened was they had something like that happen again, identical, and they'd been eating perfectly. And it's like, well, what caused that? I got in a fight with my spouse, or I had this stressful incident at work. So we know that our emotional component of our health and spiritual component, it impacts our physical body. That mind-body connection is really, really strong. And so I think I realized that. And then as I started studying Chinese medicine, I started realizing that every emotion you have causes something to happen in an organ. I don't know that I went through this with you guys. I'm trying to remember. I want to make sure I don't repeat myself. But the emotion of fear is tied to the adrenal glands. So, and we all know this, right? If you have a lot of fear, you get in a fight or flight state, your body produces cortisol, adrenaline, like we all know that. Or if a child gets really scared at night, they can wet the bed if they have a nightmare because that fear. So we know that the emotion of fear is tied to your reproductive system. Worry is tied to your upper GI. Think about, I feel like my stomach's tied in knots if we have too much, if we worry too much. Or anger is tied to the liver, causes disease there. Grief, if you have had something bad happen in your past, physical abuse, emotional abuse, regret about something, shame and guilt, and you're still living with that today, that affects your lungs and colon, which is your immune system. Think about it. If you have a lot of anxiety or nervousness, boom, blood pressure goes up. So that affects the cardiovascular system. So I started realizing just over time, just how important our mindset is to our physical health. But then, Harry and Brad, I shared this with you, I think, just for a quick minute. I saw you at Urban Market there in Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't walk for a year. So a lot of people don't know this about me. So about a year and a half ago, I'd injured my back weightlifting and hurt a disc quite a few years ago. And I'd got stem cell therapy. It's amazing. They take your own bone marrow and inject it back in, and it would just your stem cells. And I got like so much better after that. And I thought, well, I'm going to get it done one more time, and I think I'll be back to 100%. Now I was still deadlifting and squatting and swimming, and it was in pretty good shape, but I thought I still have this nagging issue. So I went and got stem cell done about a year and a half ago in my disc. And then something just didn't go right at the procedure. And then afterwards, I just wasn't feeling it. I felt worse and worse and worse for months. Finally, 3 months later, I woke up and I couldn't walk at all. My back was so much pain. Went in, got an MRI. They said, you have a infection in your spine. It's not only in your disc now, it's in your bone. You have osteomyelitis. You also have an abscess that's grown with an infection. And the doctor sat down with me, and the prognosis he gave, he said, best case scenario, you're going to have pain the rest of your life. And when the weather comes through, you'll know when the weather's coming through. I'm sharing his exact words. I'm like, okay. And he's like, worst case scenario, you're going to be permanently disabled. This is a year and a half ago. And I said, okay, I don't receive that, but I appreciate you, doc, sharing that. And so I decided I was going to do everything I could. Now, I ended up getting on an antibiotic for a short period of time. Now, they recommended I be on it for 3 times longer than I did. But I got on an IV for a period of time. And then in addition to that, I'd read a study about how hyperbaric chamber and other therapies help kill infections. So I got in a hyperbaric chamber for 2 hours a day, a hard chamber. I started doing red light therapy. I only ate meat and vegetables. It was the only thing I ate for months. Started doing all these things. I started getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So I started finally healing over time. But this process, the infection was so severe, and your discs don't heal fast. There's no blood supply there almost. So it took me, I didn't walk an inch for 10 months, but it was really a full year almost before, because I had to be on a walker for a while too. So, and that was just as of, quite a few months ago. Started walking again this last May. And I say that all to say, you know what, like as I was going through that, one of the things I realized is, food is medicine's important, lifestyle medicine's important, medicine, mainstream medicine, it's important. But the most powerful thing for me healing, I really realized at the time, was my mindset, this sort of mindset medicine or mind medicine, because I'd felt emotions like despair and hopelessness, and I'd never felt those emotions before, I can say. Because can you imagine, you have a doctor that tells you your best case scenarios, you'll be in pain the rest of your life, and the worst cases, you're permanently disabled. When I was just in the, felt like I was in great shape, throwing my 2-year-old daughter in the
Yeah.
air, in the pool. And then I couldn't even roll on my side. I couldn't even be in a wheelchair. The pain was so bad. Literally, I crawled to a pool. That's all I could do is crawl sometimes. And so I was in bed, the same bed, for almost a full year. And so all that being said, while I was in that situation, this has really allowed me to connect with God in a deep way. And I think also grow and create a higher level of sort of empathy and compassion for others. But I realized that if people are going to heal, the mindset piece is the most important piece.